Have you ever had a great conversation with someone at an event only for the person to completely forget who you are a week later or maybe a month later? You know, you had a solid chat. You learned things about each other. You exchanged business cards or information in some way, but now they have no idea who you are. Or in all honesty, maybe they remember your name, but they don't remember what you do, how you can help, etc. Here's the truth of networking. It's not about being the most connected, it's about being the most remembered. And that doesn't mean you have to be zany or crazy or do something totally out of the box. So today I'm giving you my Remember Me framework so you never get lost in the crowd again. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Creating Opportunities podcast. This is a place where we help smart, ambitious professionals create better relationships for success. And why? Because people matter. They're messy, but they make life better and they matter. And I am your host, Cassandra. I am a speaker, trainer, an iced coffee lover. It's important you know that. And I am here to help you make deeper connections. So let's get into it. For some people, networking is noisy. People meet dozens, even hundreds of people, get on tons of Zoom calls, have coffee chats, and we wonder why we get lost in the crowd. The mistake most people make, they introduce themselves in a way that's very bland and generic, and then they just go into the background. Years and years ago at church, in the Sunday school class I was in, as adults, Sunday school class isn't just for kids, we would have a time where those who were new visitors did have to stand up, which I know is a nightmare to people, but this was actually a really great culture at our church. They had to stand up and introduce themselves, and then we would take a break, and we very much had a culture of like, go meet at least one of those new people, like make them feel welcome. And so my friend and I would do this together. We'd go up to one of these new people, and they would say, so what do you do? And my friend would always just go, well, I'll go first because it's boring. She'll say, I'm an accountant. Cass, what do you do? I'd say, I cast contestants for Wheel of Fortune. And it's like, well, one of those is very memorable and one not so much. Now, it doesn't mean that if you have a boring title, you can't make it memorable. For example, that friend could have said, I am an accountant and do the taxes of high net worth individuals in Los Angeles, or I am an accountant for a very exclusive firm that works with celebrities in LA. Now at church, maybe no one cares and that's fine, but if she were at a networking event, I would tell her to say that over, I'm an accountant. So how do you become the person that people actually remember? Well, here is the Remember Me framework. Step one, you need a connection hook. You need to make them curious about you in 10 seconds. So instead of a traditional intro, open with something intriguing or unexpected. For example, instead of saying, I'm a business consultant, try, I help burned out business owners work less and make more. Why this works? You're opening the door for questions to be asked. It brings curiosity that someone wants to ask more about what that means, what you do, which leads to a deeper conversation and a stronger memory. Now, here's my thing with this. You don't have to be clever, right? We want to engage curiosity, but sometimes people take this and go into the territory of trying to be like cute and clever, and that just confuses. So think of it more as instead of just giving a title, give a description of what you do that's succinct. Sometimes when you ask someone, so what do you do? They go off for 15 minutes and it's like, are you sure you know what you do? And for the practice of it, drop your own connection hook down in the comments. I would love to see what you come up with. P.S. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you have comments now too, so you can put it there. Okay, step number 2, you're gonna give what we call a sticky detail. Basically, give them one thing to remember. This is huge, okay? Don't overwhelm people with your whole life story, or if you are multi-passionate, the 5 different things you do in your business. Stick to one. I honestly see this mistake made all the time. Now, I will say if you have a side hustle, if you are working in a corporation, you have a side hustle, I still would stay with one detail, but it might come out that you have a job too. That's fine. I used to do that when I was career coaching at a state university and was building my own business in it. I would go to events and talk about career coaching, and then later in the conversation I might say something like, I also, do this at a university, blah, blah, blah. But I wouldn't put them together in an intro. What I hear with multi-passionates, especially business owners that do a lot of things. So like I speak, I coach, I also have an MLM that I do, or I sell products products to my friends and family. They do a bunch of things. They list off all those things. Well, now I'm just lost and confused and I don't really remember details about you. Again, this goes to what I said in the intro. I might remember your name, but I'm not going to remember details because of this. And so if you have 3 businesses going or multiple revenue streams going at the same time, don't mention all of them. Choose one thing. For example, I still do job interview coaching. I never mention it when meeting somebody. Never. In an introduction, in a first conversation. Again, down the line, it might come up, we get to know each other and I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to do a job interview coaching session today. Fine, but not in the intro. And then in my own business, I coach one-on-one on LinkedIn and train business owners and service providers how to use LinkedIn. But I also do a ton around networking, around speaking on networking, having One Hello Society, all of those things. But when I meet people, I choose whether I'm talking LinkedIn or whether I'm talking One Hello as networking, consulting, etc. I don't get the two confused. So if I'm in a room of service providers and small business owners, they're going to be able to buy LinkedIn from me more than hire me to come in to speak. And so I talk to them. I say, oh yeah, I train and coach on LinkedIn. That's it. They can learn everything else later. So we need to give them one thing to hang their hat on to hold on to. That makes it sticky. And then make it intriguing. So you've said what you do, like, oh, I train on LinkedIn, or I train small business owners on how to use LinkedIn to amplify their reach or get new leads organically. And then give an intriguing detail. This is the part that makes it sticky. So we're not going on 18 different tangents. We've talked about the one thing. And now we say something like, yeah, it's really fun. One of my current clients actually is using the process that I've taught and just got 3 new authentic calls for new leads just this week. Like, that's it. It doesn't have to be hard, but you want to show something that kind of gives success or just intrigues. It might be like that they do something really cool on the job interviewing side. I've had people do all sorts of interesting things that I might say, oh yeah, one of my clients just interviewed to be the head of this massive veterinary hospital or is working for NASA. So another example would, instead of saying like, oh yes, I have a podcast, it's, yeah, I have a podcast called whatever, and I just interviewed someone who took a coffee chat and turned it into a $3 million deal. Now that's got my attention, right? So you want to make it something intriguing. And then lastly, this is in every single episode because it's the most important part. The third step happens after the event. You follow up. Because if you want to stay top of mind, you've got to be the one to reach out and follow up and make them remember you. This is actually the most important part. If you don't do this step, you won't be remembered. Most people don't get remembered because they don't follow up, so they're not top of mind. If we believe that networking is about building authentic relationships, it can't be one and done, and we need a lot of touch points to make that relationship stick. So one of the easiest things is after meeting, sending that quick follow-up or sending a follow-up quickly after to get in another touch point real close together. So within 24 to 72 hours, send a follow-up message saying it was nice to meet them and something about your conversation that you took away, some sort of personal details. So it's not just, hey, it was great meeting you. Hope we can work together in the future or hope to talk more in the future. Give more detail than that. And if you can, help them in some way. So show some care. You know, maybe you were commiserating over how awkward networking events are. You can say, hey, I know you said you found these things kind of awkward. Well, here's this YouTube channel that really helped me out. And you can share the channel. Or, I know you said you guys were looking for a new nanny. Here's who my wife and I used or my husband and I used, and we thought they were great. You know, wanted to pass on the name. Anything you can do to help them out is going to make you more memorable because we care about people who care for us. Bottom line. Okay, so a very important bonus tip for you. Being remembered is not about talking about yourself the whole time. People remember the people who pay attention to them. So you actually don't have to talk that much at all. As long as you're the one who is asking this person questions, they are going to remember you. We love to talk about ourselves. So if you are the one who lets this person talk about themselves, makes them feel seen, makes them feel heard, you will have a much more likely chance of being remembered. A great introduction, a memorable takeaway, and a quick personalized follow-up plus being a good listener is what makes people remember you. And if you want templates to help you make a great introduction or a great follow-up email after that first meeting, that is what my free connection messages guide is all about. It's templates for every scenario. You can get that in the description box below and in the show notes. With that, next episode, we are talking all about how we put together our strategic networking game plan. I'll see you in that one. And if you need more help with networking, go check out past episodes right here in the show notes below. Bye.